I think the banking industry is moving away from banking products to really understanding customers and customers' lives and working backwards from that. And I think that's absolutely key, because fundamentally, customers are not that excited about their financial lives, even though it's really important. And working out how to make banking experiences as simple, as painless, as stress-free as possible is fundamental. What does that mean? Making it more personalized. So using the richness of transaction data, of location data, of preference data, for instance, to come up with services and propositions which are customized to each individual. And I think the third is having an experience or having an interface which is truly simple and as seamless as possible. There's no value in engaging more than a customer wants if they want to be spending their time doing other things, as long as they have the right information when they need it, the experience that they want, the accuracy of the data, and they can feel they're in control of their financial lives and spend time on the things that they really want to be spending time on. I think user experience is about understanding a customer's mindset when they're using a product or a proposition, and it's evolved so much over time. Nowadays we use digital products in ways we could barely imagine 10 years ago. So user experience is not about graphic design, it's not about a point in time, it's about evolving with customers' lives. And that's why I think user experience is a journey and not a destination. And banks which build up a team of people who can get underneath the customer's skin and evolve with them are the ones who will be successful in this domain. I find it amazing that, for instance, a fundamental of managing your financial life is budgeting, but it's very hard to find a tool which helps you plan your money and budget, and I can't understand it. I think what's going to happen is we're going to have much more innovation around bringing to life one's money. Where is it going? Where is it coming from? What can one do differently? And maybe not just the old-fashioned bank statement, but experiences which are much more visual, much more visceral even, perhaps using virtual reality or augmented reality to bring to life what happens if I set aside some money in my pension today. What does that feel like when I'm 65? And things which we today might sound like science fiction, but we'll take for granted, just like devices we use today sound like science fiction compared to 10 years ago. Banks think of themselves as banks. They offer financial services. From a customer perspective, I think of managing my financial life. What does it take so that I'm not worrying about my money today and planning for the future? And that's what I want my financial services institution to help me with, which is look ahead based on experiences which other people have had, knowledge which has come from the past, and give me some advice, give me some guidance about what can I do today or tomorrow which will help me in the future. And that's where I think the innovation needs to come in, thinking about a customer's life and their future rather than thinking about products and services. And I think that the best financial institutions will evolve in that direction. And what I'm seeing with some of the FinTechs is they're getting there already. And why is that? Because they're involving customers in the design process of their proposition. They're asking customers, where are you feeling the most pain in your lives? And they're addressing those problems. They're not asking customers, what features do you want? They're asking them, what are you finding difficult? And using that as the source of innovation to come up with better propositions. I have a 16-year-old niece who is learning to manage money, but there's no easy way for her to understand where the money is coming from and what she's spending it on. Why not? Budgeting is something which we all need to do. Make it simple. Give us tools which allow us to understand how we're spending our own money and advice on what would make it last longer, what could be done to really sort of get the most of it. And that's something which I feel the big banks are not doing yet. And the FinTechs and the startups, there are more and more propositions coming to market, but there's a huge opportunity. And I think specifically in bringing it much more to life in a much more kind of visceral way, and using, for instance, virtual reality. If you set aside £10 today, imagine what that grows to when you're 65. It's very difficult for the human brain to do that. If you put on a headset, for instance, and imagine and bring to life what that amount feels like and will be, it's much more compelling and much more dramatic. The conventional thinking is that small companies innovate well and big companies don't. That's not true. It's much more about a mindset of innovation, which is really focusing in on customer pain and coming up with solutions for that and bringing those to market. What tends to happen with small companies and startups is they've got nothing to lose. They're starting with a blank piece of paper. So they can innovate quicker because they don't have those legacy problems. Big banks can be just as innovative if they take on that way of working. In other words, work with the customer, find those pain points, be agile about coming up with innovations and not worrying about the past or their business models, but really looking to business models of the future. I think the key to collaboration between big banks and fintechs is empathy. For big banks to understand the rhythm of a startup, what they're trying to achieve, how they work, what drives people. And similarly for fintechs to understand, how does a bank work? What's involved with compliance? What is a procurement process? So that the two sides can work together as smoothly as possible.